Yes, I think there are huge differences that an athlete will have during the season than during the off season. The biggest one is that the time that's spent playing basketball or whatever the sport is often late at night or into the evening, and that sets up disturbances in the person's circadian rhythm or sleep cycle, if you will, so that what happens is that when you should be going to sleep, you're actually more active. And when your adrenaline levels should be lower, you have more adrenaline. So a game can happen at around 7 p.m. You're done about 9:30. By the time you fly out to another state, it's 11:30. You're still wired up. And so this prevents athletes from getting proper sleep because their adrenaline levels are so high, their cortisol levels in the body, the stress hormone, so high that you cannot come down as the average person would, say, after a day's work. Well, generally, you should have 6 to 7 hours of sleep. Your age being 21, you may find that you have to stay up later because of the social activities that you have to do. With athletes, however, the most important thing is that once they do finally get to the point where they're trying to sleep, that they guard the hour before they're going to sleep, so that they can learn to meditate, relax, and bring the adrenaline levels and the hormone levels down quite a bit. And so
reduce activity within that hour before sleep?
Yes, I think it's very important the hour before you sleep to actually curtail the amount of exciting things that you might want to do. And by exciting, meaning not being around stimulating activities or being involved with people who may be emotionally charged or who are going to get you more revved up. So the hour before the sleep is probably the most important for athletes, given the fact that their adrenaline levels and the level of excitatory neurotransmitters and other things in the body is so high. So part of it is learning how to bring that down, to relax, and to get into an even night's sleep. Well, one of the things we talked about this morning regarding sleep aids is that they can be effective, and there's different types of sleep aids. Some help you fall asleep faster, some keep you sleeping, and some can be used during the night when you wake up to help you go back to sleep. The difficulty with all sleep aids is that they can affect either the REM sleep, which is necessary for mental recovery, or they can affect the non-REM sleep, which is important for physical restoration. And so you may fall asleep, but often you may be robbed of the deep quality and the deep restorative effects of sleep because these drugs tend to manipulate your non-REM and your REM sleep, which is why sometimes you find yourself dreaming so much because your REM sleep is the active mental state, and if your non-REM sleep is suppressed by a drug, then you'll find you dream a lot. Or if the vice versa, you might not get the deep restorative physical refreshing that you should get from normal sleep when you use a drug. So I prefer that we do more relaxation, more mindfulness, more meditation, and use those methods. And if we have to, we use a sleep aid that is perhaps natural, that simulates the body closer to like melatonin, for example. And then if that's not working, we can then look at limited use of shorter acting sleep aids. Well, yes, it's a challenging thing for athletes getting enough sleep. The big thing is to actually manage the sleep. And one way to manage the sleep is to begin looking at how much sleep you're getting a night, how much sleep do you require. As we talked about earlier, sleep has stages. And in sleep, you have to get two types of sleep: REM sleep, which is for mental recovery, and you need non-REM sleep, which is for physical recovery. Things like growth hormone, which is very important for muscle recovery and for muscle growth and muscle repair, actually peaks only during sleep. For men, another thing that's important, and for athletes, testosterone is secreted during sleep, particularly during REM sleep. Without testosterone, it affects our ability to concentrate, it affects our muscle strength, it affects our sexual functioning. So sleep must be over a certain amount of periods, 6 to 7 hours, and managing it is really important. If you're not going to get that amount of sleep, what's important is to get a nap. And a nap could be anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes as far as an hour. And there are consequences, of course, for sleeping shorter naps versus longer naps. Yes, the environment that you sleep in is extremely important. The environment where you sleep should be, the room should be dark because light affects sleep. So even digital devices that have light emitting from them should be covered up. It's not a good idea to sleep with a laptop or a phone in the bed, or to have an alarm clock that has an LED light pouring into the atmosphere, because it affects your brain. It signals the brain that you should be awake. The other important thing is that the room should be cool. Body temperature reduces over time, and in the evening, when our body temperature is lower, that's when our brain is signaled that we should sleep. If the room is too warm or too hot, the body and the mind does not get the signal, and so you can have an uncomfortable night's sleep. So keeping noise down is another thing. Noise also, we have a startle response. We're all programmed to wake up or be alert when a noise happens. So light, dark, keeping it dark is important. Getting the noise factor down is also very, very important. And then also the temperature, keeping it cool. These are the three things in the environment. Of course, it also helps to have the right mattress with the correct number of coils and spirals. It also is important to have the right pillow. And so these are all parts of what we have to look at from an environmental point of view for athletes. One of the things we tell athletes to do is, if you're traveling, take something from home that reminds you of sleep. It could be the kinds of pajamas or clothes you wear to bed. It could be a certain pillow or a cover that you use. It could be a picture of your family or someone that can remind your mind and condition your mind for sleep.
That's going to signal to the mind that, okay, it's okay to sleep now?
Yes, we all have a ritual when we go to sleep, whether we are aware of it or not. We have a certain side of the bed we sleep on. We have a certain things that we wear, a certain cover that we use. We have a ritual. And so if you bring something from home that is associated with sleep, your mind automatically associates this with, oh, it's time to go to bed. So the idea is having awareness of what it is in my ritual that helps me sleep. Yes, what type of bed you're sleeping on is critically important. In fact, we have done things for teams where we've gone into hotels and looked at the numbers of coils and springs mattresses have. We've looked at whether or not the shades have blackout shades so that there's enough light. We've looked at the level of noise at the hotel, because all of these things work together, believe it or not, for a really good night's sleep. And those are environmental things that we can control that can really change our sleep quality.
And you found that hotels have been responsive to helping players to achieve that maximum sleep?
Well, usually when a team is coming to a hotel, it's a win-win situation for the team and the hotel, so it makes sense for them to make changes if necessary. So yeah, it's not been too difficult. Well, hopefully if you have someone else in the home who can help manage the time, so that if the kids can be playing with that person or occupied with some activity while you get your sleep, that's important. And often what you have to do is actually have a family meeting and have we've done that as well, where we meet with the family, and once kids are amazing, once they understand also what's necessary and what's needed, depending on their ages. So I think it's a combination. It has to be a family decision, not just sort of walking in and saying, hey, you know what, I got to sleep, and just going to the room. Nobody understands what's really happening. So we find that when families are systems, so once we bring the system into focus with a conversation, we usually can have some rules or some way we can operate to maximize the sleep.
My sleep?
Right. It's very common in society at large to think that alcohol helps you fall asleep, and actually it does. 1 to 2 drinks does make a person feel sleepy, but because alcohol interferes with the sleep cycle, what they find in the science is that the second half of your sleep, when you consume alcohol, is often disrupted, so that you never really get to the mental recovery parts of sleep. The REM sleep is affected, and alcohol has a long half-life, meaning that it takes a long time for it to be eliminated from the body. So alcohol is not recommended to help you have restful and efficient sleep. It is definitely going to disturb the second half of your sleep cycle. And for those who drink, they often complain that they do fall asleep, but somewhere in the night they wake up and they're just having a miserable time trying to fall back to sleep. Oh yes, REM sleep refers to rapid eye movement, and this is a part of the sleep cycle where our eyes are moving back and forth quite a bit because the brain is super active during REM sleep. This is the time where the brain is on fire, literally trying to remove things that we don't need to remember, trying to construct memories, take short-term memories and help us get to long-term memories. It helps us to be creative. So the brain is doing all of its renovations during REM sleep. And so when we don't and REM sleep happens towards the latter part of the night or the early morning. So within 3 or 4 hours of waking up, where we should be involved in REM sleep, which is mental recovery sleep. And if you're not doing that, then what happens is that you end up not feeling as mentally alert and being a good decision maker. And that shows up on the court often as impulsive decisions and poor and just sort of higher risk-taking on the court than one should. Right. Traveling it poses a lot of issues and problems for athletes, especially if you're traveling from one coast to the other. You have to now deal with a time zone change and changes in our circadian rhythm. So what happens is that if you're traveling out west or east, you'll have to make adjustments in your sleep patterns and cycles to compensate for the switch in times. So it's an important part of any athlete's performance training to understand when you're traveling and to know what you have to do in terms of monitoring and managing your sleep cycle so that you can get the best when you land into a new place. And that's why home teams tend to win so many games, because often they're able to sleep, they stay in their rhythm. When you travel, you absolutely challenge that rhythm, and it's important to be able to manage that. Yes, the circadian rhythm in sleep, the body works on a circadian rhythm. It mimics nature, so that when the sun rises in the morning, that's when we all get up, and then when the sun sets in the evening, that's when we're all designed to sleep. The problem, and many of the body's biologic activities work on a circadian rhythm. So like our body temperature, for example, we don't have any idea that our body temperature is dropping throughout the day, but it actually does. And so what happens is that signals us that it's time to sleep. It's part of a circadian rhythm. The problem with athletic competition is that when the rest of us, when we should be sleeping and relaxing, is when we're just finished a huge activity exercising muscles. And so the problem is that the circadian rhythm, when we travel or we are up late or we do shift work, for example, it throws it off. And so there's a whole science to trying to get the sleep back, which includes naps and other things that we can do to help compensate for the loss of the circadian rhythm cycle when you travel or if you are also doing work that keeps you up really late at night. Well, the key is that they do the wind down. Food will affect the ability to sleep if you put too much of it in just before you're supposed to sleep. But because athletes expend so much energy, they will need calories, which will really help them replace the loss of the glucose and the other nutrients that they need to help the muscle recover. Sleep is as important to that process because it's in sleep that, as I said earlier, the growth hormone, the testosterone, and other things that are important to helping muscle grow and to repair itself are actually secreted. So sleep is an active process that goes along with nutrition. And as we heard the nutritionists say earlier, we have to be intentional about what we eat and what we put into our bodies. The same is true for sleep. We have to be very intentional with sleep because studies have shown, Stanford did a recent study, I think it was in 2011, I'm not sure the exact year, but the study demonstrated that by giving basketball players, and this was basketball players, one extra sleep cycle, which was about 110 minutes extra sleep, they measured that their free throw shooting percentage went up by, it was about 10% increase in shooting free throw field goal percentage as well as three-point line percentage went up. Sprinting went up. They were faster. They made better decisions. Their hand-eye coordination was way better. just by getting one extra sleep cycle. And the reason I think that works is that all of the brain transmitters and the body's transmitters that are needed to help the body recover are to go up when you get the right amount of sleep. So the saying that you can't sleep on sleep is very important. Yes, there were concrete, very clear evidence. There was clear evidence from the studies that athletes' mental functioning, physical functioning, and metabolic functioning are all improved with sleep. And they saw it in how well they shot their free throws, how well they shot from the three-point line, how fast they were going up and down the court, and also endurance, that they were able to stay in the game longer and not need to be on the bench or to recuperate as much when they had a proper sleep. And that's because during sleep, this really active process, all of the important rebuilders of muscle and the rebuilders of energy are handled.
Well, I'm sure if it helps guys to stay in the game longer, they'll want to do it.
Absolutely.
Dr. Sweet, thank you so much.
My pleasure.